The first album was a lot of fun. The second album felt like we were saying, fuck you, we're dying here. And then the third record was The Healing Process, said Sean Crahan, co-founder and one of the percussionists for the American heavy metal band Slipknot. After 2 successful album releases, one might wonder why exactly the 9-member masked band required a healing process at all. But life in music is about more than just selling records. For Slipknot songwriter and vocalist Corey Taylor, the band's third album, 2004's Volume 3, The Subliminal Verses, was a time when he came to terms with his addiction issues. Quote, Volume 3 was really hard for me. I was in such a dark and depressing place, but about halfway through, I got my shit together. That's when I started the battle against my drinking and my crappy behavior, said Taylor. Along with internal struggles, Taylor was also struggling with the critics of the band, who considered their masked appearance to be little more than a marketing gimmick, and Taylor's songwriting to be too dependent on the use of profanity and explicit language. It was because of these critics that Taylor committed to writing an entire album with no profanity, or almost no profanity. The word bitched appears in one song, and the word bastards appears in another. The first single for the album deals directly with the turning point that Taylor and the band found themselves at during this time. Quote, this song is about standing at the crossroads of your life, looking down both paths and going, now what am I going to do? Said Taylor. Hitting number 5 on the Hot Mainstream Rock Tracks chart, and number 6 on the Hot Modern Rock Tracks chart, and number 15 on the UK Singles chart, Slipknot managed to create their most commercially successful single ever, despite the challenges that were stacked against them. The song went on to feature prominently in video games, including Madden NFL 10, ATV Off-Road Fury 3, Rock Band, and Guitar Hero Live. More importantly, though, the song reached the coveted number 2 spot on the prestigious 101 Adrenaline Rock Songs list compiled by Jack Osborne, son of Ozzy Osbourne. An incredible achievement for a song that opens with one weird trick on how to stop a headache. That's right, we're talking Slipknot's Duality on Cover Me.
My fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache. But it's made of all.
That's right, it's Cover Me, the only podcast that compares famous songs to their many cover versions to find out which one will separate the skin from bone. I'm your host, as always, The Snake, joined by my insane co-host,
Alex Mildenberger.
Whoa. What's going on, man?
Oh, what is going on? Well, I mean, on the topic of sanity, I saw the first episode of The Penguin this week.
Ooh.
Watched that, and that was pretty cool.
Does he go insane in the first one?
No, but it's like, it's Batman, so everyone's got that thing going for them.
Everyone's kooky. So is Penguin? This is my question. I could watch it. I'm probably not going to. But is he like a latecomer to being like a weirdo in Gotham, or there's no like Joker, no Riddler or anything at this point? I guess there can't be a Riddler because he shows up in the Batman. Yeah,
this is after that. This is set after the movie. So there was a Riddler. That's already happened. But there's no.
Assumed it would be an origin story, but I guess.
Yeah, usually they do that, but it seems to not quite be that. No, it continues from the movie. So I don't know what's going to happen yet. I've only seen one episode, but there are, from what I remember in the movie, there's like some implication that like the Joker already existed, but that Batman didn't deal with him.
Yeah,
or maybe the guy who becomes the Joker.
Yeah, there is some kind of like, because with almost any Batman movie now, you have to be like, we're not doing the Joker. And here's why. And so there had to be some like, oh, what about Joker? And they're like, Joker? I hardly know her.
Well, I mean, I've also seen, Team and I have been to a couple movies in the last little while, and we've seen a few ads for the like new Joker movie, the Joaquin Phoenix one. And
Joker
now
2.
with Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
As Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's Joker on the brain.
Yeah, it's the Joker season. It's October.
That's true. It's also that time of year when I feel like playing Castlevania games.
That happens to you like seasonally?
It's weirdly consistent, yeah.
That's very
Usually when we get into late September, I'm like, I feel like jumping over something and whipping it.
Well, there are other ways to get those kicks, Alex, but Castlevania is certainly a good way to do it. Have you gotten the most recent Castlevania collection release was the Game Boy Advance games? Is that right?
They just put out the DS ones.
I wasn't sure if those were out yet.
Yeah.
Are you gonna pick that up?
I should, because I have played them all. but I don't specifically necessarily own all of them.
You borrowed them from a friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So, yeah, Castlevania times.
Castlevania. Nobody's wearing masks in Castlevania, are they? They're all just...
I mean, there's some mask stuff, but not a whole lot. I mean, everyone has two forms, so everyone transforms. But on the topic of music and also the Joker, Lady Gaga also put out a new album related to that. I haven't listened to it yet.
Yeah, nor have I. It's I read some quote about it where it's like people are calling it Gaga 6.5 because it's like, I guess technically her 7th album, but since it's like a movie tie-in and kind of about, I guess, being Harley Quinn or some shit, the album is called Harlequin.
It's called Harlequin, yeah.
So it's like a kind of midpoint album for her. But I don't know if that's speaking to the quality of it or just like speaking to its relation to the artist herself.
Right. Yeah. It seems to be a movie tie-in, so I'm interested to check it out.
And hey, I love a movie tie-in.
Yeah. Gotta love a movie tie-in.
Yeah, it's a kind of magic, you might say, when it comes to movie tie-ins.
It's exactly what I would say.
But we're not talking about Lady Gaga. We're not talking about A Miserable Pile of Secrets, which is a Castlevania reference. I was going to try and work something in about that being a mask. But no, we're talking about an actual full-on masked band. And enough masks for everybody, baby. There's 9 dudes in this fucking band.
Yeah, and they all like have numbers. They've got a whole like theme thing going on. It's pretty like strong theming.
Yeah.
Like horror, creepy, like very dirty asylum kind of thing.
Truly, yeah. They somehow managed to be like peak Halloween band and also like a really strong 90s bent to their theme in terms of like edginess.
Yeah, because it does make me think of like pro wrestling kind of.
Pro wrestling a bit too, which also in a revival these days, people love the pro wrestling. But yeah, 90s was huge. So there's a quote from Corey Taylor about the masks and also about the jumpsuits. For the masks, he says, quote, "It's our way of becoming more intimate with the music. It's a way for us to become unconscious of who we are and what we do outside of music. It's a way for us to kind of crawl inside it and be able to use it," which I thought was very interesting. Particularly in comparison to Kiss, who we talked about earlier this month, who I would say their goal with the face paint, their sort of mask, is just to draw people in. It's purely an external exercise.
Yeah, it's interesting. I guess like if you're not as worried about like showing your face, it's sort of like a way to distance yourself from the limelight, kind of. Like,
yeah.
Which I think, we haven't talked about David Bowie enough lately, so I should probably bring him up. David Bowie kind of talked about doing with like personas on stage as well, right? Like as much as it was him performing and him on stage, there was this distance because it was Ziggy Stardust on stage or whoever.
The Thin White Duke or Aladdin Sane or
Halloween Jack or whoever,
Halloween Jack.
Like all the different personas that he would sort of embody on stage, and it becomes a character, and you're not sharing yourself, you're not making yourself as vulnerable, but in this way it's like sort of removing that aspect from it to allow yourself to get more into it, which I guess is very similar.
It's detaching these sort of social connections in one way or another. So you stop thinking, oh, I'm David Bowie, I'm Corey Taylor, I'm the other 8 members of Slipknot. We are this music entity. We're shifting. I have used the mask idea to my advantage when we filmed our Bad Music video several years ago.
Oh, yes.
Because we were all kind of stiff, and I just was like, hey, we got to fucking throw these masks on if we're going to cut loose and actually film something that's worth seeing.
Yeah, and we all covered up our faces.
Yeah. You can find that video online, people. But yeah, so the mask principle, I think, works, and I think that's great that they use it, not just as a marketing play, although certainly it gives them an identity in the music field, but as like a tool to get closer to music. I think that's very cool. And then moving on to their jumpsuits, they have a very like counter capitalist idea there. According to Taylor, he says, quote, "Originally we were just going to wear the jumpsuits. We figured we might as well take that further and number ourselves. We were basically saying, hey, we're a product." So that's their little like, we're just another cog in the machine, man.
Right. We're just marketing, like very explicitly, this is marketing, kind of.
Yeah. They're like, if you're hearing us, it's because, the money men behind music have put us out there as a product to be bought and sold.
Yeah, which I mean, fair enough. It just feel like, I guess it's also like dehumanizing for both, so kind of fits in with their aesthetic of, I don't know, being like prisoners of some kind.
Yeah, and it definitely fits with their sort of style of music, this heavy metal approach, typically tackling darker themes and ideas.
Yeah.
This one, too, covers that, where he's like, oh, I'm at a crossroads. All I feel is pain on this. We'll get to the lyrics in a bit. Alex, I think I've realized when we were kind of composing this theme month here that Slipknot is a band I only know by name.
Yep.
And like loose identity. I know the masks.
Right. They do the masks, and I didn't even know they did the jumpsuits or the numbers.
Nor did I.
That's news to me. Yeah, I don't really have a background other than I have occasionally seen Corey Taylor referenced in things.
Right. You mentioned you're familiar with him through British panel shows.
Yeah, he was on QI at least one time, and that's what I remember seeing him on.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like on an episode, and I think he probably did some other shows too, or I don't know. Maybe it was all just publicity stuff for an album or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, he was on there, and it was like weird because his attitude was very different from everyone else's. Because everyone, they're all like more like uptight and British, and like he was definitely acting differently. So it's like funny to see them next to each other because it's very different energy.
Mm-hmm. British people tend to notice that, especially if it's somebody who's like their thing is being a freak on stage.
Right.
And not only that, but being American. It's like, whoa, there's a real divide between that and like a British comedian.
Yeah. It's like a funny difference.
Yeah.
And I've heard his name referenced in other places as well, and I'm like, I had to look him up. It's like, who's Corey Taylor, you know? But like, he comes up every once in a while, but not like a lot. He's not like everywhere in the news or anything.
No, he's just like I think he's still working a lot, so he's around pretty much, is it? So we're talking about, did you know any Slipknot songs? Like,
I mean, you said this is in Rock Band, but I do not remember it.
It's specifically it's downloadable content for Rock Band, so that's why we would never have seen it.
That would explain that. Because sometimes we would skip some of these songs. I was thinking generally though, because like this is like on the metal end of the spectrum, which I kind of steer away from a lot of the time, and I'm like trying to think about that, like what's going on there, like why? Because I listen to rock and listen to like harder rock a lot of the time, and like why is it metal that like why am I drawing the line there? And I'm not exactly sure, but sometimes I think it's like too honest, and I'm like, no, where's the irony? Where's the detachment? They're like doing all this because they want to. What?
Yeah, and they're just like straight up being like, I am sad and things hurt, and you're like, whoa,
yeah, and I'm gonna shout about it, and you're like, okay, whoa.
You're like, can I have a fucking metaphor or something at least?
Yeah, please.
Raw dog emotions on me.
So I don't know. That's what I was thinking of this week anyway. And they got it's just this like overly intense persona thing, all this like insanity, and to like do the eyes. I mean, it makes me think of like, when people were really into like Heath Ledger Joker and stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, no, wait, didn't I not like that? But I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, I do think there is like a steep cultural buy-in for getting into heavy metal.
Yeah, I guess so. And like I like some of the aesthetic stuff, but some of the things where it's like it's supposed to be gross. I'm like, yeah, but it's gross.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to see that shit.
And I guess on the other side, like a lot of it, like what deals with like addiction and mental health issues, stuff like that.
Which you haven't struggled.
Which I don't like deal with that directly. So maybe there's just, what do I know?
Right.
Like I'm here on my end. Like, aren't you overdoing it a bit? So like, what do I know?
You're like, hey, I don't know what addiction is like.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
So, I guess I'm saying like I don't always get it, but like I'm trying to respect it.
I think you get songs about addiction in every genre, though. So
True.
I'm not sure if I buy into that.
True. I just like combined with the aesthetic of like of like the metaphor of like it's like being in an asylum look where everything's like dirty and greasy and like blood stained because they don't wash that that kind of look.
Yeah. Maybe a similar vibe to, like, there's people who are like super into horror films, like good or bad,
right? And
like non-ironically,
right?
And I like a horror film. They're not my favorite genre. I'll watch them. I'll definitely watch the good ones, but I don't have that same like cultish fervor, that real like buy-in to be like, fuck yeah, dude, it's October, we got a new round of horror films coming out, I'm gonna watch every one and wear a little mask while I do it or whatever, you know.
Right.
I just don't have that same drive. I think there is a real like it's more than just a genre, it is a culture, right? Because I can listen to rock and roll and then I don't have to be part of any fucking group. Maybe that's because it was a pop genre, but even metal had its time as pop.
Yeah.
So and maybe that's where my metal line ends, is what was pop metal, right? Like,
yeah, maybe we just like pop music. Maybe that's it.
They were just a couple of fucking pop losers. But yeah, metal and jazz, I do find myself not getting into those. And I do think they have some layover in that. I think technique is a big emphasis in both of these genres as well.
Well, that's true. I mean, rock to a degree, but maybe not all the time.
No,
like there's
rock
certain eras where it's
is the real three chords in the truth genre.
Yeah, it's one of them. But I mean, there's also like, especially in like 70s, 80s in particular, you get all these like guitar hero types, you know, who are like real virtuoso guitar players. But that's not in every era.
No,
it varies.
It varies, but I think it's like simple metal is maybe too simple, you know? It's just a chug, and then you're like, well, I've heard this in 100 other songs.
Right, and then like we don't have the background, so everything sounds the same kind of thing. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is like, I don't have maybe the brains to, the taste, the palate to appreciate the simplicity of a metal song. Exactly. I don't have that metallic palate.
So, all this said,
what
do you think of this song?
Slipknot. This song, summed up by Corey Taylor, he says that this is the best Slipknot song to introduce new fans to the group. He says, quote, I'd probably do Duality just because it's such a great amalgam of everything that Slipknot does, and it's still to this day one of the biggest songs we have. That's true. And this, very digestible, I would say. It is pretty poppy. There's nothing on this that I haven't heard in another like popular metal track. This song specifically gets considered new metal a lot, which I can understand.
Because of like the delivery of the verses, kind of?
Yeah, the verses are particularly like almost rap.
Yeah.
They're not really, but they get there. I didn't mind this track. I'm not like sold on Slipknot, but I can see that they've got some chops and some value.
Yeah. I liked it well enough, as I often do. It's it's all well put together.
It's well put together. I think it's got a chorus that, you know, that soars in a heavy metal way. It's when you hit it, you know, it's chorus time. You can kind of feel that lift.
Yeah, they're strong on the melody there too.
Yeah,
on the chorus in particular, and then the other parts. You know, it all works very well.
Mm-hmm. And there's also just like a lot of cliches, like a chug going on. Right. You're like, all right, yeah, cool.
Yeah, and it was never like too much for me or anything. I don't know what that would be, but
no, it's devoid of any like super growling or anything, any sort of like niche genre stuff.
Right.
This is 2003 popular metal, so it's
and it's not like super noisy or anything. So there's still, it's accessible, like you said, as a metal track.
As a metal track. And a very fun music video and some lyrics that are pretty much though like what you would expect of. Well, again, I love like kind of new metal. Like it's a little Linkin Park, it's a little Limp Bizkit. It's kind of in between those two zones.
I see that.
Sad boy.
I see that.
But
two
also
bands I admittedly don't know a whole
backwards.
lot about, but I believe.
Yeah, but if you think of the popular songs,
If I
you think
squint,
about rolling.
You hear that?
All right. Well, keep squinting as we go through the lyrics, which begin like this. I push my fingers.
I can't read them if I squint.
Oh, come on, Alex. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache, but it's made of all the things I have to take. Jesus, it never ends. It works its way inside. If the pain goes on. So that's your intro.
Goes on. Yeah,
which also is the chorus.
It is. Lots to talk about pain and stuff. And
pains,
like being
aches.
relentless.
Yeah,
Pains,
it's
aches,
sort of
all
that
spaghetti welding? Not
general
really.
angst. So there is also a teenaged aspect to, I think, some metal music.
Yeah, I often like dismiss things. I'm like, it's a bit like edgelordy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's someone trying to express something, so that's probably not very fair.
Yeah, a lot of people connect to it, so hey.
Yeah, exactly. And like this in particular is talking about this sort of phenomenon, which I've certainly experienced with like physical pain of like there's one thing and you're trying to distract yourself with another thing, but like in this case, it's something that like is also painful and possibly destructive.
Yeah, especially like the way he delivers the line.
Yeah.
Like, I push my fingers into my... You're like, that doesn't sound like you should be doing that.
Yeah, it doesn't. Sounds painful.
Sounds painful. His quote about this is he says, "Did you ever get that headache that is just not..." This his being Corey Taylor. He says, "Did you ever get that headache that is just not going to go away and you end up sticking your thumb and your middle finger so far into your eyes just to stop the pain? Usually it has to do with making a choice. You get to that point in everyday life that you have to make a decision that you may not want to, but you're kind of pushed into making that decision."
So is he comparing the like stress of needing to make a difficult decision to the pain of these like migraines he had?
Yeah, I think it's like a stress headache, right?
Right.
So your mental condition is causing physical pain in this sense, and that it's hurting your brain. But yeah, he's like, but it could be used for any number of pain, right? He is talking about this technique of diverting attention from one pain to another.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it never ends, is partially because this is his like last ditch stopgap effort here. Is like, I'm going to put my fingers in my eyes.
Right.
And apply pressure.
And then like, of course, there's the sort of aesthetic of the band of this like insanity thing.
Yeah.
Kind of being like, I think it is something that happens if someone, I don't know exactly what situation this would happen in, but you see like people in an asylum who are like tied down or something because they'll hurt themselves maybe.
Yeah, for sure. You get a lot of that. There's the whole idea of just kind of looking ugly and having problems, like, which I feel like, again, talking teenage thoughts, like every teenager thinks they're ugly and also does have problems.
Yeah.
So like it plays into that idea as well. Yeah, he mentions, but it's made of all the things I have to take, but I think it is the headache, right? Or the ache.
Right, yes.
So he's talking, it's just like my whole life has led up to all of this pain and continues to be that. I'm putting it's constant. It works its way inside. And then a cliffhanger on this intro. If the pain goes on, then we hit verse 1.
Oh, yeah. What happens?
I've screamed until my veins collapse. I've waited as my time's elapsed. Now all I do is live with so much fate. I've wished for this. I've bitched at that. I've left behind this little fact. You cannot kill what you did not create. Let's just deal with that first half.
Yeah. Can you actually scream until your veins collapse?
I wonder if that's a genuine medical phenomenon.
Yeah, what does it mean for your veins to collapse?
And what would cause them to collapse?
Yeah. I don't know that condition. I should have Googled that.
That. I don't think it's maybe necessary to know if it's factual.
It sounds bad.
But essentially, screaming, an expression of pain, and typically a call for aid. He's done to the point that even the expression of pain has caused him more pain.
Yeah. And now the next line, I don't know if it specifically means like, but no one helped me. Like, or there are times where I scream and there are times where I do nothing.
I think it's that, because I would compare it to I've wished for this, I've bitched at that, which is one line. So I've done this, I've done that, I've done another thing, I've done this thing.
Right.
And so that's the first two lines. I've screamed, so I've tried to let all the pain out vocally and call for help. I've also tried to just sit there and wait it out. Neither have worked. He says, now all I do is live with so much fate. A very dramatic line.
Yeah, like feeling like you're not in control, kind of.
Mm-hmm. He mentions that idea again later in this verse, but he's like, yeah, I'm basically, now I just live with the idea that everything's out of my hands.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess maybe can be a good thing.
Yeah, it depends.
You don't feel like you need to control everything, or that you can control everything.
There's two ways to do it. I was reading the hit manga Vagabond,
of course,
wherein the monk Takuan, says to Musashi, he says that our fates are predetermined, so that is why we have the freedom to do anything. And so that's a little bit of Zen Koan action there, but essentially that's finding freedom in fate, right? You're like, well, I will end up at the destination regardless, and I was always going to end up there. Therefore, I can do anything. Anything I do is on the path because
like it would have happened regardless, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to worry about it.
The flip of that is kind of, a death row sentence. Just been like, well, fate is going to take me straight to the worst thing. So I'm doomed to this pathway.
Yeah. But I do think it's like, I mean, sometimes it is true, like that you just thinking about it in terms of like control, like you can't really control things, I guess. So, or sometimes there's things you don't have control over, and you have to accept that because you can't do anything about it, and you can get worried about it, but that won't change what happens.
Exactly. Yeah. But in this one, he is certainly worried about that.
He is.
And I think it is interesting that fate has a quantity here with so much fate.
So much of it.
It's not like a single fate or like a heavy fate. It is so much fate.
It's not a like type of fate. It's a quantity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. But I guess the other thing is if you start to think of it like that and you like start to talk about things in terms of your fate, it could be like a negative thing. You're like, I guess it's just, this is my fate. This is what was meant to happen to me. And it's just like, sure is a lot of fate, which in here is just like bad things maybe.
Right, is like dire consequences. Yeah, negative experiences. Yeah, it checks out. It's like, this is a fate doing this, and this is also a fate, and whatever, two negative things. Yeah. Of course, and then he talks about more things he's done to deal with this pain. I've wished for this, I've bitched at that. So one hopeful, the other just complaining, negative. I've left behind this little fact: you cannot kill what you do not create. What factually not true. You absolutely can kill what you didn't create. True.
That's an interesting line. It sounds cool, though. You cannot kill what you did not create. I don't know exactly what it means, but it does remind me of a line like that I remember coming up. I guess it's like a religious line, but like anything with a beginning has an end kind of thing.
Sure.
I do remember in religion class, because we went to Catholic school, they were like, there's like a logical argument for the existence of God that like anything with a beginning has an end. But God has no beginning, therefore he has no end. And it's like, well, okay, that's like very philosophical.
Yeah.
I do remember talking about that, but it reminds me of that. Of like, you cannot kill what you did not create. What do you suppose that line means?
I suppose looking at, I'm comparing it with so much fate. He's saying essentially that there is no way out of his predicament. Again, he feels trapped.
Right.
So fate has been laid out for him. He didn't create his future, and therefore he cannot kill it.
Right. He just at some level has to accept it.
Yeah.
Or like work with it, or like create a positive version.
Not even that. Unlike Billy Joel, this man is a victim of circumstance.
This man is a victim of circumstance. Ah, that's true. The other thing it makes me think of is, I mean, we know there's like an addiction side of this, just because of like the backstory. And I know like there's this idea that like if you have like there's obviously some. Okay, let me try that again.
Sure.
Addiction, mental health issue, right? But it often gets framed as like a personal choice issue.
Right.
And that's a fairly common thing. But then the idea of like, I didn't create this, this wasn't a personal choice issue. Mm-hmm. So if you look at it as something you didn't create it, but then you can't kill it either, the machine's always with you, which is another thing that I've heard about addiction as well.
Yeah, it's you're always a recovering alcoholic, right?
Exactly.
You're never just not an alcoholic.
Like it doesn't really go away. So it's like you can't kill it, but you have to live with it. Even though you can like change it, it's still going to be there, or like change how you live with it.
That's definitely a good take. I wonder though if it's a little too modern for a 2004 song.
That's what I was a little worried about. Yeah.
Yeah.
But sometimes we get surprised by these things.
That's true. So yeah, but it is this idea, like we've said, like loosely, there are circumstances around. Again, he's dealing with this idea of fate. There are circumstances around you that you cannot control, that you were not responsible for,
Yeah.
and so you do not have the power to end them or change them. Right? You could apply this to any number of things. It could be alcoholism on a broader scale. You could be like, it's capitalism.
Right. I guess so. Like systems or external factors are going to act on your life.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with that. You can't just remove it. Really.
Yeah, you cannot wish it away. You cannot just complain about it. You can't wish or bitch.
Or like it's going to have some effect, even if the solution is to get away from it. Like it still exists.
It still exists. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he is a victim of, and we don't know. Again, this sort of broadness, this sort of teenage vagary of it, is that we don't know exactly what issues he's talking about.
That is true. That is true.
But we do know that he's got to say what he's got to say. He says, "I've got to say what I've got to say, and then I swear I'll go away, but I can't promise you'll enjoy the noise. I guess I'll save the best for last. My future seems like one big past. You're left with me because you left me no choice."
You left me no choice. Yeah, again, a lot of interesting lines. I've got to say what I've got to say, and then I swear I'll go away. I mean, doesn't seem to say a whole lot about the situation, other than he's like at a point where he's like, I need to vocalize this, and then like I won't bother you anymore. So like, you kind of get some characterization more than anything.
Yeah, we're kind of brought in too. We as the listener, he's like,
That's
I
true.
understand that you're here, and I'm actually addressing you. I have to say this, and then I'll go away. So he has to complete whatever his path is here.
Right.
Which in this case is, I guess, leaving behind these facts and talking about the futility of his situation. But I can't promise you'll enjoy the noise, he says, which is like one kind of a cheeky reference to heavy metal in this era.
Right.
It's a little bit outside of the mainstream. Slipknot as well, a little bit criticized.
Going for a bit of this like gross out thing, and obviously anything noisy is not going to be like loud things like this aren't going to be broadly accepted.
Yeah, and also maybe what he's saying is going to either one, make you feel bad about yourself, two, like indict you in some way in his suffering, or there's a content reason for why you might not enjoy the noise rather than just
right, like you might not like what I have to say.
Exactly, yeah, it's as simple as that.
But like I'm going to say it anyway because it's so important.
Yeah, it's critical that this is said. He again touches on this idea of so much fate, or not being able to kill what you did not create. With my future seems like one big past.
Yeah, and also like things are repeating themselves, perhaps.
Right,
like,
it's a cycle, and it's also set.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're left with me because you left me no choice, which again also seems to play with that. Like, I didn't put myself here. I cannot kill what I did not create. He's like, I can't end these circumstances because you put me here.
Right. Just that's the only course of action.
Yeah, it's the only course of action left.
Is to sing this song.
To sing the song, and to, of course, push your fingers into your eyes.
Yes.
So we get the chorus, which is just a shorter version of the intro. I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that stops the ache. If the pain goes on, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah, now we know what happens when the pain goes on.
Yeah, he's not going to make it.
So we have the rest of that thought.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And it's, what a nice thought.
What a nice thought.
In verse 2,
that up.
we get a plea. He says, put me back together or separate the skin from bone. Leave me all the pieces, then you can leave me alone. Tell me the reality is better than the dream, but I found out the hard way. Nothing is what it seems.
Everything is a dream.
Everything's a dream.
Yeah, this one, I do think, like, there's kind of the two options there. And the song obviously is about making changes, kind of, or like the idea of making changes and having to decide whether to continue down a path or change it.
Yeah,
essentially. The crossroads, right?
Yeah, the crossroads. So it is, I guess about making changes or making a decision. Do the one thing or the other thing. Don't leave me here in this sort of purgatory space.
Right. But then ultimately, like, our options here are like put back together or just like completely obliterate me.
Yeah, exactly. Heal me or end me. But like, but it's
like
also interesting because then he's like, separate the skin from bone and leave me all the pieces. Then you can leave me alone. So even in this separating skin from bone, he's apparently still alive.
Right. And like putting himself back together.
Right.
So there's still like, I guess there's some hope in this song.
Yeah.
A little bit.
like a hope for hope, maybe.
Yeah,
like,
hope for hope.
Maybe something is after this, even in the negative result. Yeah, tell me reality is better than the dream, but I found out the hard way that nothing is what it seems. So it's the kind of like saying dreaming and reality both suck.
Yeah. What this makes me think of is something that gets said sometimes about like psych meds, about how some people are like, no, I don't want to, or not even psych med. I mean, the psych meds thought is some people might suggest, and I'm kind of creating a straw man here, but I've heard this said that like if you take them, that your reality is like not real. Like you're not.
Yeah, that's
reality,
a real like old school argument.
It's a real old school argument, and
definitely people probably still say it today.
Yeah, I think it's something that people would say. I don't personally agree with it, but this almost seems like you say this to me, but like it's not that simple, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another mindset. It made me think of this idea of like, oh, I'm like smart enough to see that the world sucks, kind of, and like not delude myself.
Yeah.
Which is also not really the truth, because everything is, our own perception. Or I wouldn't think is completely the truth anyway. So that makes me think of that. But like, you want me to like believe in this reality and that I'm in a dream, but like, who's to say that that's reality?
Yeah.
Is this in line with all the rest of the things that are said? I don't know.
I wonder if there is an implied you in front of tell me. So you tell me the reality is better than the dream.
Yeah.
But I found out the hard way. Nothing is what it seems.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I got lost. I'm trying to find this classic tweet where a guy's like, he's like a philosopher. So he's like, you fool. There is no good thing. Like everything is bad. And I cannot fucking remember how it goes. But essentially this is like kind of what he's like, yeah, you say one thing's better than the other thing. But actually nothing's good. Like,
yeah, I guess that too. It's like, you want me to do this over that, but like, why? If it also sucks.
Yeah. I'm gonna try one more Google on this. Ever since Google stopped being good, it's been like, what do I do? How do you Google something when Google doesn't want to show you it?
Exactly. So what is this? Is a tweet related to?
Yeah, loosely related. It's making fun of people with like centrist ideals by being like, you fool, there is no good thing. I cannot find it for the life of me. Here we go. The wise man bowed his head solemnly and spoke. There's actually zero difference between good and bad things, you imbecile, you fucking moron.
I see. Okay. So like you said, it's like making fun of the centrist view.
Yeah.
Of like, but both sides.
Yeah, this both sides. I'm like, well, yeah, it's like this thing kills a lot of people, but this one would cost money, so... Can we really say which is worse?
Do we really know which one we would want to do?
So loosely related to this, but you're all right. I think you kind of circled around what he's talking about here. This idea of like, is it better to face reality? Is it better to live in a sort of softened dream state, whether that is chemically induced or not, or prescribed or self-prescribed? But I found out the hard way. Nothing is what it seems. So he's saying like, right. I think he is kind of saying like neither one is good. Yeah,
and like maybe, I mean, I found out the hard way. So like he's experienced presumably both. He's like, you're telling me this, but like I already know. Like,
yeah, it's like exactly this kind of like your advice isn't going to help me. I'm already aware of the situation. Yeah. That's the problem.
Because he's in the cycle. He's already gone through this.
Yeah. And that's verse 2, and I think, we get the bridge, and that's the last bit of like unique lyrics where he says, all I've got is insane, and that repeats.
Right. I guess that's the introduction of insanity, and probably the meaning, like when they're talking about reality is better than the dream, he's saying, no, I'd rather be insane and live in the dream kind of thing. So I guess there's that side to it too, which I maybe didn't address, of like the narrator is like, actually, this is making me go insane, and that is, to protect myself from this reality by just like separating myself from it.
I thought maybe he had just opened like a booster deck of Pokemon cards.
It's all insane, man.
Yo, these are fucking insane.
All these are insane. All I've got. It is a weird phrasing, right? Because like usually, I mean, you usually go insane, so you could say I've gone insane, right?
Right.
But it would be weird to say all I've gone is insane.
Yeah.
And fishing, like I don't know, like
all I've gone is fishing.
Maybe that's a bumper sticker, but
that might just be all I've got is insane. Yeah, he's saying. I think even regardless, he's like, even if I go back to reality, it's just insanity.
Right.
It's
I guess
one of
that's
those.
It.
Again, to like pull like an old, it's like the most sane decision in an insane world is to be insane, or whatever it is.
It's like, what, you think we're insane here in the asylum? We're just the ones who got caught. I don't know. Like,
yeah, it's in an insane society. The only sane choice is to go insane, my man.
Yeah, exactly. This song has that a bit. I mean, it's not the way I thought of it exactly.
I don't think it's
discussed it, but,
quite edgelording like that. But it is. I think it's almost like it's not a power thing. It's not like, this is it, dude. Grasp insanity and you have the truth. It's more of like an admission. Like fuck, this is all I got.
True. Yeah, it's like quitting almost. It's like I can't take it anymore. I'm just gonna do this and like curl up.
Yeah, it's a very defeatist song. He says the pain goes on every chorus. I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
And then somebody telling him like, hey, you gotta come back to reality. He's like, actually, no, it's not good. Like, everything's hard in this song. There is no like softness. There is no really respite for our narrator here.
No. Jesus, it never ends.
Jesus. Never ends. Me watching the think of a long movie quick. Oppenheimer.
The Batman.
The Batman. Yeah, that would have been better.
I mean, the 10 Commandments. Is that what it's called? The like old. It's like, I think it's long.
Yeah, it's like I was trying to think of a movie that is long and also bad.
Okay.
I couldn't because if it's a long movie, it's good. You're not gonna say Jesus, it never ends.
I mean, sometimes
220 minutes with intermission for the 10 Commandments.
That's a lengthy one.
That's a lengthy one.
Yeah, I remember watching some of it in school. Some of it. And it was on like
watch all of it.
It's on like a whole set of VHS tapes.
Fuck yeah!
Because it was 2001 or whatever, 2002 probably.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm seeing here it's based on Prince of Egypt, Pillar of Fire, On Eagle's Wings, and the Book of Exodus.
Yep.
Those were source materials.
I mean, it's a Moses story.
Yeah.
Or it is the Exodus story, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
All that good juice. But that is not this song. This song, a real bummer.
Yeah, a real bummer. It doesn't even have Charlton Heston in it.
No. Which I notice. You really hear it in the audio that Charlton Heston isn't here.
That isn't here, yeah. It's like, you damn dirty apes. Anyway. Is that what he says in the Planet of the Apes?
I believe so. I believe that is, you damn dirty ape. Get your hands off me, you damn dirty apes.
That's the one. No, because you got to get your hands on to push your fingers into your eyes.
Yeah.
There was one. Okay. So, did you read the Genus annotations for this one?
Not a lot.
The first Jesus It Never Ends, It Works Its Way Inside line has a genius annotation that is unreviewed, obviously, and it's just someone who
I did read this one actually.
He wrote, he means his fingers working their way inside his ass, and that's the only thing it says. That was a fun surprise when I was looking through the lyrics.
Yeah, unreviewed. It does have -6 in terms of votes.
Yeah, he does not mean that, obviously, and it was mostly just, like non sequitur kind of humor, but it was a fun surprise.
Yeah, he's talking about it works its way inside, and also he has a deep asshole.
Yeah.
So it never ends.
Anyway, so this person was having fun. I'm surprised it's still there. It should probably be removed. But it's not helpful.
It's not helpful at all, but...
This is Wikipedia. It would not still be there.
Yeah, it would not stand, but Genius has a little looser standards.
Yeah.
Much like our narrator's butthole. All right. Let's talk about the instrumentation here, which, as we've noted, Opens with whispering.
Yeah, it does. Like they do the chorus, everything's like filtered down. I think there's piano chords too.
Yeah, well, you got 9 guys here. There's 9 fucking guys. I didn't manage to. I guess I probably could have looked on here on Tidal for the actual credits.
Yeah, I didn't see. But it's like the bang, like it's like a big sound like that. So it seems like piano to me. There's also we start to get that like sort of muted guitar.
Yeah.
There's no credits for piano or keyboards.
No, there isn't.
They do have keyboards, so that's believable. But
I
like
think it might just be guitar then with like a lot of.
You think so?
Yeah. Because yeah, he goes like so we get just vocals at the start. Put my fingers into my.
The second one really sounds piano-y to me.
Oh, there's a bit of like I can kind of hear. Let me hear it one more time.
Yeah.
No, I think that could be guitar though.
Okay.
It does. I can hear that piano tone to it.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what?
Strike.
I see keyboards here by Craig Jones.
Yeah.
So it's probably the keyboards by Craig Jones.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mystery solved.
Oh,
wait, is that? No, that's on the song Sick. Hang on.
Oh.
Hang on. I fucked up here, man.
I mean, they do have a keyboardist in the band.
Yeah. Be fucking weird if they didn't. Wait, this is off. Am I even? This is all fucked up, man.
I know. I can't find it. They've got like. Oh, there it is. Keyboards, Craig Jones. Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, you're right. It opens with like kind of that heavy style of key note, that ding, real resonance to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got that resonance. It's the resonance. It's got that. Then also the so as they go, so he's whispering, and then they sort of get like they double up on the track.
Yeah, so it's like a 3-step rise to where the song actually kind of rests. So we start just vocals, and then boom, the rhythm guitar and the heavy piano notes come in, and then boom, we get doubled vocals or multi-tracked vocals, and then heavy drums hitting everything kind of in the mix.
Yeah, as we go in. And before, there's like a brief like instrumental before the verse.
Yeah.
A lot of so they get this distorted guitar, very distorted.
Yeah.
You know, metal. Bam, 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 bam. And then kind of like plays, that's like the riff. That comes back again later. But for now, it's just here. And then like you get this fast strumming. They do this for like 20 seconds.
Right, that.
And then that kind of like wail. You know, the wail.
Yeah, they bounce down.
So that's like kind of their like riff that comes up a few times.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call it the instrumental or riff or something. I don't know.
The intro.
Bridge riff, probably, because it's on the bridge.
Riff. Sure.
Spoiler. Right there for you. Now you know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then we move into the verse, which has that very fast, like rhythm guitar.
Yes, it feels much faster, and then the drums too, right?
Yeah.
They dropped out for the like before the chorus, but now they're back. Everything's going fast.
A lot of double kick. Yeah, they're really moving.
And then, of course, as we alluded to earlier, the like spoken vocals. So it's like very rhythmic.
Some kind of like almost like kind of punk song, but I can't.
Oh, a specific one?
Not that I can put my finger on, but
okay.
It exists, you know. It's in that realm. It's in that realm of not rap, but definitely talking. Yeah.
I cannot think of what that would be.
Yeah, neither can I. So might as well just move on.
Right.
But yeah, heavy, big energy. We get like that doubling of guitars for that crunchy rhythm eventually.
Yeah, you get 2 because it's like the low one, and then the one that, or it's kind of like muted and not muted. I think.
Yeah, and it's almost. I think it is 2 different patterns they're playing, but they kind of play. They move in together.
Let's see. They do sound similar. No, they are. 2 patterns,
but that one on the right is going.
Definitely different. So they kind of like weave a bit.
Yeah,
it's good sound.
Yeah,
honestly, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and so that works us into the next. I push my fingers into my eyes, which this time still one guy doing it, but now we've got this heavy jun, 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 and he's like he's getting ready to kind of scream it. I push my fingers into my...
Yeah, I think that's a different... Like, it must be a different guy saying that part. Sounds like a different voice to me.
Yeah, I don't know who all handles vocals in Slipknot.
It does have the other guys as backing vocals.
Yeah.
So that could be backing vocals.
Could be.
You kind of get the first line and the last line of the chorus. Is that. And then the rest of it is Corey Taylor, presumably.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I don't know the sound of his voice well, but I mean, he's lead vocals. So
yeah, I know exactly one song by Slipknot
now. The other thing that happens, we kind of like the drums like go, I guess, normal time. I assume they were like double time on the verse kind of thing.
Yeah,
because like we slow down, but you can really sit in it, which is a pretty common like verse technique of like, this is important, now we can pay attention to this.
Yeah, we can kind of, and like instead of focusing on speed, we're focusing on like emphasis of hits in the chorus.
Very intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like the big changes in the chorus.
Yeah, and as we move into the next verse and things, it's kind of business as usual. There's not really big changes.
Moving into the verse, it kind of like starts the strumming up, and then the vocal, and then he starts whispering again. Well, not like whispering, but like speaking again.
Yeah, that talking with a filter on and talking kind of like this.
Yeah, it kind of has an aspect of a whisper, but it's not quite.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. Like we talked about, this part is like why it's called nu metal, because it's not really rapping, but like he's kind of speaking rhythmically, so kind of.
Yeah. If not nu metal, certainly influenced by nu metal artists who were contemporaries at this time.
Yeah. So it makes sense.
And yeah, like you said, even the bridge is just that kind of instrumental intro we had. That dun, dun, dun,
yeah, dun, it dun, is. Dun, dun, not, like for longer. They do like transpose it this time, so like it slides around. Dun 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 dun. You know, like they just play the same thing in different. Yeah. I don't know if you'd call it a different key. I don't think it's a key shift necessarily, but like they move it around.
Yeah, they certainly move it.
And then, of course, the vocals, All I've Got Is Insane.
Yeah, which grows in intensity, and maybe different guys singing it.
Yeah. Well, I guess, it starts out whispering and then later screaming, and then they're all saying, All I've Got Is Insane. And then there's just like so many drums to lead into the next chorus. They like climb up, right?
That's right.
If you start around like, I think it's like 3 minutes in, end of that, or not 3 minutes. After he, I guess, finishes the All I've Got Is Insane. So like 3:05 kind of.
Right.
And then just like get a whole lot of drums. Lots of kicks as he screams the first line again.
Right. Yeah, that is a big heavy drum lead up.
So one thing that they do on this chorus, and they did on the previous chorus as well, there's a guitar riff that plays during, so holding some of the words, like during Take and Inside.
Yeah, this sort of rising guitar, right?
Yeah, exactly. That riff. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Did you reference that before?
No, I didn't, but I did see it in my notes, and so I was glad you brought it up.
I didn't think it came up, but that's a nice little thing. It doesn't happen on the first chorus. No. One thing we didn't really address, we're talking about like, he's like screaming and singing and stuff on the chorus as well. Mm-hmm. But it is like, verse is very rhythmic, not melodic, and the chorus is very melodic. As much as it's like intense and metal, he's very much singing this melody.
Yeah, it's definitely like popular metal. We're not growling, we're not talking. It's gruff, but it is sung.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the way it like holds the ends of lines, fingers to my eyes, only thing slowly stops the end. All that.
Yeah.
Are you hearing some construction noises on your end? Because I am getting some construction noises on my end.
I thought it was your stomach.
And I'm hungry. Oh my gosh, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, what are they building out there?
Downstairs they're doing some construction. in the apartment. We don't know what they're doing exactly, but they've been trying to sell it for a while unsuccessfully. So I think they might be doing some remodeling.
You should lowball them, and then boom, you've got 2 floors.
Yeah. Install a fire pole.
Yes.
To get between them and
great for going down, not so good for coming back up.
No. A rope for coming back up.
Oh, there you go. I was thinking you'd get the weighted discs from Mulan.
From Mulan.
Yeah, on the ribbons, you gotta whip them around the pole and
oh my gosh, they're so loud. In No More Heroes 3, you have did you play that one?
No, it's on PlayStation Plus now though, so I might do a free download on that.
Yeah, your like apartment area, you have like 3 floors all vertically aligned, so you just have like a pole, you go down, like slide down and then scramble back up to go between them.
That's fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Love the No More Heroes games. By which I mean the first 2, which came out 10 years ago.
A long time ago.
Long time ago.
Wow, that's really loud.
That is amazingly loud. But
I don't know what they're doing down there.
Listen, nothing we can do about it now, folks. Content advisory if you don't like to hear the sounds of construction.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I guess you guys could leave some constructive criticism. Hey, how about that? But we kind of talked the song at this point.
Yeah.
All I've got is Insane. It ends on Insane.
Yeah, as many metal songs end, it ends with them shouting the word insane.
Yeah, that's a stock metal ending. But we don't have a stock metal video here. We got what's considered Roadrunner Records' greatest music video of all time.
Of all time.
Wikipedia.
This is their label, though, right? I don't know how many they'd picked from. It's a pretty good video. It's fun.
Yeah, so what I loved was reading the Wikipedia description and how many things were citation needed.
Yeah.
But the basic concept is there was the band is from Des Moines, Iowa.
Right.
And a fan there had a house, like their family had a house that needed to go under renovations. So they're like, yeah, you guys can come in here, kind of fuck things up, and then we'll renovate the place anyway. So like, no harm, no foul, really. Of course, it gets out of hand. They destroy a bunch of shit, and apparently the band had to like pay them for like replacements of like precious family heirlooms and shit afterwards.
Yeah, supposedly $50,000.
Yeah, that was the number.
Citation needed, but that's on the page. They destroyed a lot of things, and they were instructed not to destroy things, but they did anyway. That was probably telling them not to destroy it was probably a bad idea.
Yeah, probably a wrong move, but it's also like you have to say something, right? Like don't
that's
break
true.
everything. You got to set up some boundaries. But so basically, they had an audition for a bunch of Slipknot fans, and other drummer Chris either Fane explains. He says they had an audition, I think, at some hotel in Des Moines, and the kids lined up. It was funny because there were people that totally weren't into the band, but just wanted to go down there and see if they could get into the video and stuff. And they're like, "No, dude, get out of here." But that was cool. I guess some kids flew in from Europe and got in the video. So that was one of the other like rumors on the Wikipedia page that like some fucking British kids flew in to be in the video.
Yeah.
And that seems to be true.
Citation needed.
Citation needed.
I saw citation needed. I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
But Sean Crahan recalls that they asked our real fans to be in the video, and people came from all over. It meant so much to us. We weren't really supposed to destroy that house, but we did it anyway. Another plus for that song is that I got to beat the fuck out of my keg. What else could you want?
He does do that.
Yes. A quote I read before watching the music video, and I was like, what does it mean to beat the fuck out of your keg?
And then he does it. Does he use a hammer? Is it like a sledgehammer?
Yeah, he goes fucking nuts.
And just like hits this keg. But it's like some of the specific like drum hits, and it's like da, and it's timed with that. So it's cool.
It looks pretty cool. So yeah, the video is essentially a group of just white kids, because that's who Slipknot fans are.
Yeah, apparently.
Just bum rushing a house and basically tearing it up while the band performs inside.
Yeah, and then like getting inside and like dancing, or it's a metal show. Everyone is having a good time.
Yeah, they're busting up. They break the basketball hoop outside. They break a ceiling inside and some walls.
They throw a barbecue through a window.
And then
they also throw that basketball, like the backboard, through a window.
Yeah, they push that in through there.
They seem to destroy a toilet at one point because everything gets real wet.
Yeah, buddy, I destroy a toilet every day. Let me tell you. But yeah, water starts coming out. What else do these guys do? They play the guitar. You get to see everybody's masks here. So this is, so these masks were originally homemade by the guys. But in 2000 they switched to having them produced by a guy, a fellow musician and like special effects artist called Screaming Mad George.
Okay.
So the masks are updated with each album, but the core concept is consistent apparently. They claim that it represents like growth within each individual.
Fair enough.
So one of the like song facts I think I saw for this album was like Sean Crahan was wearing his healing clown mask at this time. I was I don't know what the fuck that means.
I'm sure that represents his personal journey.
Yeah,
somehow.
But he said that this was the healing record for them, so they were all healing at this point in time.
Oh well, I think I see his clown mask, and I'm pretty sure. Oh.
Are you healed?
And I'm healed. No, I'm just like, I see him like headbanging and it looks like he has like a clown nose on. Yeah. And it's like wrapped in bandages.
Yeah, I guess so the clown is literally like healing in that sense.
Yeah, 205 is my timestamp for that.
Okay.
I think it might be it. Ah, that's loud. Yeah. Oh, man.
That's loud as hell, man.
They're really going.
It's, listen, we gotta just do it. I got to do it to it. A big note around kind of 50 seconds in is when he says the line, "You cannot kill what you did not create," is that, 55 rather, is that is written on the garage door.
Right. Someone's like spray painted it on.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing of note in this video is the bridge. Yes. When everyone like starts to like huff and puff and get angsty.
Yeah, they have like everybody's still, which is a big difference. And yeah, they're all huffing and puffing. Hey, whoa, one person of color in this actually. My bad, everyone. At 2:46, we got a close up. There you go.
Stand corrected.
I stand corrected. Slipknot is for the people.
And then, of course, everyone goes crazy again.
Yeah, everybody goes nuts. Yeah, we use the bridge to kind of build up, and then boom, hit the chorus. Everybody's jumping and headbanging again. They're all wet.
Mm-hmm.
It's a house party, and then of course the best part about the video, and I don't know how they did this when it originally aired on MTV, but you just get these 2 blocks telling you to watch other Slipknot music videos.
Wow, incredible!
Right with their logo, it's unreal.
How do they do it?
It's
in HD,
one of the things in
no
HD,
less.
dude. In HD when this came out, that's crazy.
Wow.
It's just one of those things I hate about watching videos in the modern music videos, specifically in the modern era. Is
they suck so much on
often
YouTube when they do that.
Don't get the fucking ending because they're like, "Hey, stay on YouTube,
the
keep
next
watching."
One. And then I make it bigger because I'm like, maybe it'll be the same size. Nope, it gets bigger with the video.
Yeah, they make sure that those fucking
even when I full
buttons are there. But that's the music video.
Yep.
People loved it. People went crazy for this. And you all are about to go crazy for some covers right after this short break.
And
we're back. Construction is still in
full swing. Oh my gosh.
Swing.
There were some people moving out upstairs this morning that woke us up. Now they're doing some construction downstairs. It's a noisy day in this apartment building.
Noisy day.
This
a perfect
condo
day
building.
To think about Slipknot, a noisy band, but also the many covers, including the first cover in the same year by 666 Outlaws.
666 Outlaws, yeah.
My fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache. But it's made of all the things I have to.
Did you find any info on these guys?
They're one of those, like, it's probably a studio that put together XY fucking members of their studio staff for this one tribute album, because that's their only credit.
Yeah, there's like 2 versions of this album on there.
Yeah.
on their thing. And they're the same, as far as I can tell. Slightly different artwork, so maybe they're different songs.
So do you think they're like, in theory, let's think about the band name 666 Outlaws. Is that because they're on the run from God? Because they're like Satanist cowboys? Or are they on the run from the devil because they're outlawed from 666?
They're outlawed from 666, yeah. No, it's just that there's 666 of them and they're all outlaws.
Damn. They're like, how do we do a Slipknot song? But even more so, they're like, get as many dudes as possible.
Get over 600 guys. People.
We need at least 600 people on this.
Yeah.
This version asks the question, what if Slipknot didn't have a budget?
Yeah, what if this was the original, but slightly worse?
Yeah, just slightly worse, cheaper, no piano.
Yeah, it's just like and like the sound is less full overall. So like there's still a lot of distortion and stuff, but like the mix feels a bit thinner.
Yeah.
Generally fewer dynamics. So like even the parts that were like kind of whispery before, they don't really get as low and they don't scream as high. So it's just like more compressed in terms of that.
Even that initial like jump to like multi vocals on this around the 17-second mark is just so much flatter than it is in the original version.
It is flatter, although I would say that the backup vocalist is doing a better job than the lead vocalist.
Absolutely, I would agree to that.
Because the lead vocalist, I don't know, he's not quite there. Like he's a bit low energy for this. Not that he's like low energy, but like this doesn't quite get this song.
That's a complaint I think I'm going to have about a few versions this week.
Yeah.
People don't seem to understand what they're singing.
Right.
Which is, again, I'm talking about this like full buy-in that you need for heavy metal. It's like, this dude's talking about pain on a fucking like, you know, operatic level, like a truly like massive scale here.
Yeah.
And you're like, and we're just going to kind of, you know, half-ass it. It's like, well, that doesn't sell the song.
It is kind of half-assed. The one thing I liked, at least the concept of, was the increased focus on like both singers in the chorus.
Yeah.
You kind of have like almost a harmony thing. I think that's a decent idea, but the rest of it's pretty weak. And on top of that, do you hear that snare drum?
Yeah.
I feel like once you hear it, you can't not. It's like, it seems, I don't know. There's something wrong with that snare drum.
No, yeah, it's not.
The sound of it. I don't know. It's like, boop.
A snare drum only makes that noise when it's in distress.
Yeah. Someone needs to save that snare drum.
Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing new going on here. It's not even like usually when you get a metal song, the next metal cover is like, what if everything, we just crank up the crunch, we crank up the growliness, like we just full on kind of modernize metal it.
Right.
You know, it's like an increase in tech. It's almost like the HD version of it. It's just like, this is what we do with metal now. We're going to do that now, and it's going to sound dirtier, uglier, nastier. You don't get that here because it's 2004. This came out immediately.
There's no technology jump.
Yeah. It's in fact a technology regression because it's like a no-name studio band.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So it's not very good.
No. But what's all right is our next track, Midnite String Quartet in 2013.
MSQ, who we've talked about many times, enough times that I didn't even look it up because I know we've talked about them many times.
Yeah, they're like they're basically Vitamin String Quartet, but by a different name.
Yeah, and like at least to my mind, they tend to do things a little harsher, a little grittier. Maybe it's just their name throwing me off.
That could be
like
it.
This is the nighttime version.
Yeah, it's the late hour version of Vitamin
String
Quartet.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's only because I think the first time we talked about them, the version was particularly like the way they played the strings was very like they're really digging in kind of thing. Yeah. So I've associated that with them.
Okay.
Ever since.
That's certainly the case here. They definitely they put some stank on their instruments, which is a great move.
Yeah, they do. I do like the intro. Very nice. They kind of got the like repeated pizzicato like bass thing, and then the more strained like melodic violin. I like that combination of sounds.
Yeah, they're definitely keeping the energy, a little tension in here.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get good tones, good use of like staccato and things. I agree.
And then even like the interlude, doing like guitar part is decent when they do that. If maybe a bit long. I don't know. There's something like when they do it on the original, I'm like, yes, guitar. I could sit listening to this for a little while, but on this, I'm like, oof, 20 seconds? Like,
yeah, you're like, we can, and that's, of course, a big complaint with a lot of these instrumental covers, is sometimes when you drop those vocals, you need something to replace that loss of words and energy.
Yeah.
And often these versions struggle with that. I would say this one struggles a bit with that too. I think if you shorten this version up a bit, cut that 20-second down to 10 seconds, cut some other parts, you'd have something a little stronger.
Yeah, tightening it up I think would help, especially because like I guess the other thing with guitar, especially this guitar, is it's so distorted. So you play the chord and then something's still happening, right? Because it's sustained, right? There's stuff happening. Whereas this, you're like, bup, 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 bup. And it's like there's just this open, empty space. And not that empty space is not valuable in these tracks, but it's like it's not really what's going on here. Like that's not...
Yeah, it's not exactly what you want for this, and they don't do anything to maybe fill that space a bit or like add a little extra tension from another instrument. So yeah, there is parts of this that feel lacking. I think overall, and I'm having listened to quite a few covers in this exact field, this is pretty good. It's a pass.
It's not bad. Like, and then like all of it also has like the more melodically focused parts, the chorus in particular, and like the solo tend to be stronger.
Yes.
I think they lose a bit of steam by the end, of course. And then the verse, particularly because of the verse, because they do like some cool runs, but like the melody isn't not much going on.
Yeah, and hearing that on like the vocal melody, especially, it's like, yeah, you're like, fuck, like do something else, guys.
Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, not super exciting, but not bad overall.
Yeah, not bad. But that's these guys, you've heard one string quartet cover, you've heard them all. But what I've heard is at least now 3 versions of the Lounge Kittens, who do a version in 2015.
Fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache.
The Lounge Kittens. Yeah, we talked about them. I've only talked about them once before for Poison.
Yes.
But they also do a cover of Rollin'.
Rolling.
Which I was not here for.
You were not present for. Stephen Reynolds was. And his biggest complaint was the music video, in that they rubbed their sequin dresses against some nice cars, and he was concerned for the paint job.
The paint job.
That was what I remember being his primary feedback.
That's fun. So the Lounge Kittens, they're a comedy group. They kind of remind me of Richard Cheese in that the main joke is it's a song done in like an anachronistic style.
Yeah, I would say Richard Cheese tops these Kittens in terms of doing work.
I see.
Their bit always seems to be, we're going to just sing the song in harmony, pretty straightforward, throw a piano under it, you're done.
Yeah.
Richard Cheese plays at least a little more with the character of being a lounge singer. He
does do more like character work, that's for sure.
Yeah, and working with the band and stuff. You get big band, you get small. Like, he's doing a lot more in that genre.
I heard
as much as we've heard enough that I think the bit has worn thin, I do think he is a stronger proponent of this sort of comedy lounge music.
Yeah, I feel like, well, I'll get into that in a sec. A quick anecdote.
Sure.
I encountered some Richard Cheese in the wild this week. Because I don't know who it was. It was someone out in front of our building. Like I said, as you have noticed, they're doing some construction downstairs.
Right.
So I think it might have been like a contractor or something doing something for them. But it was like a big truck, windows rolled down, just blasting the Richard Cheese cover of "Baby Got Back" like to the community.
Weird.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Weird choice.
And I was like, "Is that? Oh yeah, this guy." Like That was like, I think, his most like first big popular
That's
thing.
Like his hit, yeah.
That's like his kind of hit. So anyway, that was fun.
It was fun.
So,
yeah, was your reaction like, "Oh, right on," or were you like confused? What did you feel when you heard?
I mean, I'm always confused when people are playing music that loudly in public.
Sure.
And I was like, I know Richard Cheese. Cool. That was
right.
it.
So it's just like acknowledgement. You're like, I guess.
Yeah.
Moved on.
So the other thing I was wondering about, again, yes, the joke just seems to be it's anachronistic, right? I almost wonder if like it's less amusing because there's just so many people doing like, hey, this song in this style,
right?
Like it's worn thin. Like this group even has retired.
Yeah, 2020 they retired.
So like, is it just like it's not funny anymore? Maybe because I think it did used to be funnier. Of like, they're doing like this rap song, but like it's lounge music, or like this song, which is like kind of gritty, and you wouldn't expect high society folks to enjoy. Is like, oh, but it's in a sound that maybe they would listen to it.
Yeah, it's like when you think about who's big now in this kind of field, I think of that guy, and I think maybe even his time has passed. I don't know his name, but he'll do one song in the style of like fucking 80 artists or whatever, right?
And then it'd be like you vote on which version he should do a full version of, kind of thing.
Yeah,
we have talked about him a couple times for covers as well. I forget his name as well.
I forget his name, but like that seems to be the ultimate endpoint of this, where it's just like it's novelty. And that's no longer novel, really. It's just like it actually turns out a lot of people can and will emulate different genres of music and place them over popular songs. It's not, and so in a vacuum, it has no purpose, right?
Yeah, the gimmick. It's worn a bit thin. It is. It has.
It's because then you have shows like Westworld is the last one I could think of, which was like 2016, maybe that show was on air, where they're like, here's in-universe versions where they're doing like, because it's a cowboy world and the animatronics know how to play creep, but cowboy style.
The cowboy style. And even like BioShock Infinite did that too. Like maybe it's just been done now, so it's kind of tired.
Yeah, and the comedy is gone because both of those examples we just listed, it's not a funny.
It's not comedy. It's like, it's weird alternate reality.
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like, it's weird alt history, alt reality where you're like, whoa, what the fuck is happening? So yeah, it's maybe the comedy musician, at least in this form of just like popular song, new genre, is a dying breed.
Right. Especially, and I do think there is an aspect to it of like, the joke is, this is a low-class song done in a high-class style kind of thing. So I do think that's part of it as well.
So there is like maybe a bit of like racism built in there.
I think that there's a bit of that there.
Or
at least like classism. But usually, I mean, oftentimes it's like, what's this upright, upstanding gentleman doing, like singing a rap song? Like that kind of thing.
Exactly. You make a strong point.
So I think that's another part of it. But also, I mean, that's part of it, but it's more just like thing in a context you wouldn't expect it. But then, of course, it's like, why don't we expect it?
Yeah, why don't we expect this?
So there's questions you can ask about that, and probably should be asked, but it does seem like maybe it's not quite as funny as it used to be.
No, and then the ones who survive in this industry are, of course, a band we haven't talked about deliberately for years, Scott Bradley's Postmodern Jukebox. People love that shit, but he's not doing it as a joke, so it lends a little more. Again, so like you're saying, the comedy version of this is maybe on the way out. Yeah,
because it's like, oh no, we're just doing this. We're just doing it anyway. All that to say, there's not a whole lot to say about this version that you didn't already say.
Boring. There's not a really good, like you said, there's not really good comedy to this.
Yeah,
I don't mind these people in theater. So they're a lounge band formed in Southampton in 2012. So they're British. And they do. I just know that they have a sense of humor that they don't let loose on this because
in the video kind of.
Yeah, and that we'll talk about how that's not that good either, but
but like it's mostly like they're doing their harmonies, which sound nice enough, and then the instrumentation, it's all that piano. The piano kind of has different stuff because like the piano's like softer at first, and it gets like more aggressive, and it's sort of like bop bop bop. You hear that very aggressive playing. But it's just the piano. It's just the one.
Yeah, that's all they got. They got the harmonies, and like you said, the piano has more personality than they do singing this.
Well, fair enough. Yeah.
Right until the end when they're doing that, no, I'm not gonna make it. And they put their like kind of nasty voices on. I'm not gonna make it. And you're like, oh, you guys could have been doing more this whole time.
Yeah, I suppose. And then maybe a little at the beginning because they kind of do the like slide vocal, like
Oh yeah, they're like extra
sliding
soft at the beginning. That like
Yeah.
kind of I can see that.
So like you get some like stylistic choices there that are interesting.
Yeah, but we run into the same issue, I think, vocally here that I was talking about with 666 Outlaws, is that they don't seem to know what they're singing or why they're singing it.
It ends up being very even.
Yeah, everything's even. There's no, like, and again, this is why the end comes off weird to me. I'm like, oh, you guys knew that there was a bit of nastiness to this song, that you could do that, but you didn't do that. Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you play around with, like, play with the song? If you're going to be funny, play with the fucking song.
True. Like, do something with it, make a joke of it. Because, like, there's goofy stuff you can do with, like, creepy things.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking, like, Rocky Horror Picture Show vein. Like, they didn't really approach it like that.
Yeah,
I
you
feel
can
like
be
there's something
camp
there.
and creepy.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
and like, yeah, Slipknot, conceptually, even if they are like spooky and, you know, they have masks and jumpsuit, that's also very funny. We make fun of horror things all the time as a society.
Yeah.
We made how many scary movies? A lot. Like,
A lot, yeah.
there's something to make fun of here. And I don't think they had an idea of what to do. They seem to have run into this sort of YouTube personality problem of just cranking out content for content's sake.
I suppose. I was actually surprised looking at their discography how few songs they actually put out.
Yeah, I haven't looked, but yeah, looking at it, there's 3 albums on Tidal. And one of them's a live album.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Not a lot of content. But then now I just read, well, why is this not as good as it could be?
True. And like maybe you got to put the video out for publicity kind of thing. So maybe.
But we're going to talk about an artist after we talk about this video, who consistently puts out content, who's consistently been talked about on the show, and has a pretty fucking good batting average.
Yeah, pretty decent.
Like, he's not always a hit, but I don't know if he's ever been the worst version.
No, maybe like once.
Maybe once.
But like usually pretty decent.
He's pretty fucking strong. So let's talk about this music video, because we have hope here. There's an idea of comedy that just, they seem to forget that a premise needs to, like, to have a premise. Like, you need to follow through on things.
Right. It is a bit thin. Although it starts in medias res.
Yes, of course. So they're running through an English country garden.
Yeah.
There's hedges. It seems to be like a forested area. They're dressed in their kind of like cabaret-esque, like, showgirl stuff.
Right, like it's lounge stuff, but it's not like what you would expect 3 female lounge singers to be wearing.
Yeah.
It's like kind of... I don't know. Like they've got like button-up shirts and
button-up shirts and ties
and stuff. So it's all
but
the
also
pieces.
sequins. Yeah.
Yeah, and like their hair's dyed and stuff. So it's not like strictly fancy dress or anything.
Yeah. And then we see a bunch of masked freaks following them. It's a kind of like a fixed camera shot. So the kittens run at us, and then this horde runs at us. And I'm like, okay, we got some kind of Eyes Wide Shut party, like some kind of cult or zombies or something.
Right, and kind of call back to the original music, the beginning of the original music video, which is people running.
Which is people running. So, and we've given that running a new context in that it's a sort of chase. Great. It's a spooky song. Awesome. We cut to our B-roll footage, which is the 3 of them at this kind of like rope structure. Yeah,
like ropes tied around trees. I think I've seen stuff like that. Like if a tree is like has a branch, like a part of it that's dying.
Right.
It might be like being supported by the rest of it. I've seen that. I don't know if that's what it is. But yeah, they're just like in some trees, basically.
Yeah, and then we get the first thing that kind of tells us what they're actually aiming for here, which is the silent movie slide coming up saying 2 minutes earlier.
Yes.
And then we cut to 2 minutes earlier. So what initially looks like a protest is, for some reason, 2 groups of Lounge Kitten fans who have both, I guess, booked the Lounge Kittens for an event at the same location.
Yeah, or something seems to have happened. But yeah, they both have a poster, flyer, whatever, for like the Lounge Kittens, but one says Wood Rock Festival and one says Super Fancy Pants Gala, which are both apparently outside, again, in the same location. They are both wearing cat masks.
Yes.
But the Fancy Pants folks have golden cat masks, whereas the others have black cat masks on.
That's right.
And they're just like, hey, no, we're seeing the Lounge Kittens. Like, no, we're seeing the Lounge Kittens. And quite frankly, they're both in agreement as to why they're there.
Yeah, so there isn't actually an issue here, is like problem number one.
They're like, the Lounge Kittens are playing? And it's like, no, the Lounge Kittens are playing? Like, wait a minute.
Yeah, if they had maybe set up 2 stages or something, like a fence between it to like pretend like these are 2 events at the same location.
Like, oops, we double booked.
Yeah, like, oops, we double booked. But then the kittens show up, and of course, they're in a fucking, they're in the backwoods here. They're in an English country garden or wherever.
Right.
They showed up here intentionally.
Yeah.
They knew there was going to be people here who they were performing for.
Yeah.
So they show up, and then they're like, hang on, actually, we got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, immediately. But they're in their like heels, so they have to ditch them and put on some sensible shoes.
Yeah, through magic, they conjure some sneakers.
Yeah. And then it's like silent movie chase hijinks after that.
Yeah,
mostly.
Which they do a good job of.
Yeah,
We get some behind the tree
they hide
shots.
behind trees. Fun. Everyone runs by, kind of thing, and everything's a bit fast because it's that like silent movie.
Yeah, so they like with the running and stuff looks choppier because it's all moved up. Yeah, they run around a big bush. Basically any trick you could find in a silent movie or Scooby-Doo chase scene you're gonna find here.
Exactly.
And then it ends with them running into a shed rather than they just perform.
And everyone just like has a good time.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? Like, so you guys ran into the shed because you were running from these people the whole time. And there's never like narratively, if you're going to do this, you have to like let us know that the kittens are somehow guiding these people, or like there needs to be some kind of like letter trick where both of the posters, like if you rearrange the letters, it's the same event or something. Like
something. Yeah, like it does feel like it's missing something, right?
Yeah.
Like the joke is that they have 2 different groups of people. I get like they booked 2 different festivals that are just them.
That are just them, and
location?
Also at the same location.
Like, but also, like, were they just trying to appeal to more people? If so, why is everyone angry?
Yeah, or they need to be like counting money in the car before we see them get out. Like we need to know that this is
are they greedy?
Scam they're running. Yeah, like.
Anyway, I don't know. The premise is a bit unclear.
The premise is, you said thin earlier. It's transparent. Like it's...
Yeah. We've been working with some thin premises today. This is a pretty thin one.
This is maybe as thin as they get. Listen, Lounge Kittens, I get it. We all got to make a living somehow. But
maybe we should cover that thin premise with some metal?
Yeah, I think so. Let's move into 2017 to talk about Leo.
My fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache. But it's made of all the things I have.
Leo. We've talked about Leo several
times. The metal
times
YouTube
before.
man. He's the guy.
Although, fun thing, this one is Duality acoustic cover. What?
Yeah. And it's not fully acoustic watching the music video.
True. But what's interesting about this one, so yes, he does, it's called an acoustic cover, and he does mostly use acoustic instruments.
This is true.
But the way he plays them are very like metal-like. So even though they're not like heavy distorted guitar and stuff, it does have kind of a metal sound to it because he's still using that playing style, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I think he gets a great tone out of this acoustic guitar that he uses for a lot of the rhythm. While, maintaining that intent, he does like the...
Yeah, on like an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
Which is fun. So there's that acoustic guitar. He plays like a timpani or something. I'm taking most of this from the video.
Yeah, definitely use that as a guide because it's rich with instruments.
A slide whistle.
The slide whistle, man. That's for that riff.
Yeah, that's
perfect.
Fun. Very
that's
good.
So good. It grabs the ear. You're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And it actually has like a solid tone. Awesome.
Yeah. Very good. Electric bass, guitar. There's your electric part. Fair enough. And then like a tuba as well, though.
That's right.
Or baritone.
big ass brass he's got on him.
And a banjo later on, too.
And a banjo and even a clown nose.
And a clown nose. Oh, does he honk a clown nose?
Yeah, he honks a clown nose. It sounds like one in the song, and then I watched the music video, and he's wearing a variety of masks in the music video.
Yes.
And one of them is a clown mask, and he honks it at that point. The guy loves metal, and he's doing a very good take.
He always is fun
on this.
And so it's hard to fault him. He really seems like he's just enjoying himself.
Mm-hmm. And I think while this still being a metal cover, like just even the choice to be like, let's try mostly acoustic instruments, gives us a new texture, new tones that really make this version stand out.
Even though it feels like metal, it like sounds different enough. And I imagine that's like a good challenge to give yourself as well, to be like, let's use all different instruments. For this one. And like he doesn't normally cover metal songs because he does other songs in metal style.
Yeah.
Which itself is similar kind of to what we talked about with the Lounge Kittens. In that, you're changing styles, but it just feels more honest. I don't know. It's not a joke, right?
It's not a joke. Even this, you could be like, oh, it's a joke because he has a slide whistle and he's having fun. Yeah. But it's not a joke.
No, it still sounds good, right?
Yeah, it still sounds good. And like all of his music videos, he's always making faces, having fun. He'll dress like Jimi Hendrix or, he'll put on a bunch of masks. So, but it's never meant to, like, he's not trying to be more clever than the work he's covering.
Right. And it doesn't, we talked about the other one, like, even if it is a joke, it's not like at the expense of someone, whether it's calling one form of music lower class or like making fun of a higher class thing, like,
Yeah.
It's just
typically
like, hey, isn't
at the
it fun
expense
when
of
we play
himself.
music like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, we've got some genuine love here. We've got some fast strumming, some like honks in here, some slide whistle, some spookiness, maybe a little extra texture in the vocals, just growly wise. He's more of a growl metal vocalist.
Yeah, he is still singing like that. And then even like he plays the banjo, but he's not like picking the banjo, right? Like he's strumming the banjo.
Yeah.
So it's a banjo sound, but it's like, and there is an electric guitar solo later on as well.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty
good solo.
Clean electric guitar too. Like it's not
that
a metal
true.
tone on the electric guitar.
Yeah, it's certainly amplified, but it is not, it's not crunched up to the nth metal degree here.
And it's like a bit almost, it made me think a bit country. Maybe it's just because it's like clean with a bit of echo, like, which is, kind of country.
Right, and maybe he's trying to summon some of that like slasher film energy, because even in the music video, a few of the shots are bringing that. In slasher films, maybe I'm just thinking of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but like a country setting isn't out of the question for those.
I guess, he doesn't do like banjo picking, but he kind of does fast picking on the solo, so I guess that's like, what is it? What's the movie with the banjo kid?
Oh, what is that one with it's...
The Deliverance.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
So much. Well done.
Yeah, well done. You could criticize that it's pretty close to the original, like structurally, but I think enough is done with the instruments here that it stands on its own.
Yeah.
The music video, as we've kind of talked about simultaneously here, is in a sort of cabin.
Yeah, I almost wondered if it was like a music, like a school.
Oh yeah, like a school. Yeah,
like
looking at those lights especially. Like that ceiling is very and professional building of some
and to
kind.
just like cover everything with wood paneling. I'm like, yeah, just like in school.
Yeah.
Just like the band room in every school I ever went to. That had a band room.
That is true. Yeah, they always did. I wonder. Yeah. I wonder why that is. But you get to see his wealth of instruments and masks in this music video.
Yeah, absolutely. He wears a bunch of different masks. So I guess similar to the band, whereas each like role has a different mask. He has a different mask for playing different instruments in.
Yeah, and I wonder how closely... there's none that have like a bunch of spikes coming out of them in this video, but like the first percussionist we see is the clown mask, and one of the percussionists is the clown in Slipknot. So I wonder how 1-to-1 the masks are.
Yeah, I don't think so. Only because these seem like he went to a Halloween store and bought a bunch of masks.
Yeah, because one of them's like a president mask, like, so like the
unless you get like
singer.
a pinhead mask. Yeah, one does seem to be a president mask. And he's got one where like his mouth is exposed so he can sing.
Yeah.
And And I also like the drums are tiny. I wanted to point that out.
He has both tiny drums and that one massive drum.
Which might be a timpani. I'm not 100% sure. The other note I noticed in the video, so he plays the wood blocks for a bit.
Yeah.
Woodblock sound, and there's like a metal post on the wood blocks that's holding them up that he hits for the same ting as the keg in the original video.
Ah.
Yeah. So that's fun. So kind of a callback to the original video.
Yeah, see, done with love, this guy.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing, and he loves that he's doing it.
Yeah. So it's fun.
That's right. We're officially anti-comedy on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Not much else to say about the music video. It's pretty standard, like YouTuber and Leo fare. Like you see him playing the instruments when he's playing the instruments. Beyond the setup of him now wearing masks and being in a spooky space, It ends with him leaving the space, and then his like call to action at the end. Subscribe to me here, buy my music here, is all done sort of in the stylings of this song.
Yeah, and it's
or
like
in heavy metal
board,
style. Yeah, and he sings to the audience.
Yeah, heavy metal.
So that's a bit of fun,
etc.
But that's Leo. We got to talk about another kind of. It's a lot of working musicians on this one. A lot of people in the mid range of making music, and we've got one of our favorites, 8-Bit Misfits in 2019.
Misfits. Another one that I consider them and MSQ, I'm like, they're like the bad boys of their respective genres.
Yeah, and there is like the other 8-Bit group that we talk about sometimes also did a cover, and I opted for 8-Bit Misfits maybe because I felt that they were the better call.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's true of these guys, but I expect them to be a little grittier, a little harsher.
Hey man, they're Misfits.
They're Misfits, exactly. It's maybe it's just the name confusing me, but
it might be.
This one, what did you think of this one?
So we talked about these guys before on Humble,
yeah.
Kendrick Lamar, 3005 and Sunflower. They've kind of had a hit-miss record. You and Jesse really like the Humble version. 3005 was abysmal, as I recall.
I remember it being terrible.
And Sunflower, I don't remember, so it was I'm going to say it was just fine. This one, pretty good. I think they bring it
a lot more in this one.
Yeah.
I'm comparing it to MSQ, and I think they keep up the interest a little more.
I agree.
I mean, the techniques they use, we've seen before, but it works. Like the arpeggios, they do these really fast arpeggios in the background.
Yeah, the Final Fantasy arpeggio, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's going for a lot of it. Obviously, when similar to MSQ, they have the more melodic parts work. Or are a little easier for them to work with, but I do think they actually are successful on the verse because they end up with these two interweaving parts, kind of.
Yes, these guys aren't afraid to fuck around a little bit with melody on a track they cover. I think that was our problem with 3005, is that it just went completely off the rails.
It was what is this? There's no melody.
Yeah,
I think they do. You can tell me this is any song, and I'd be like, that what?
I guess. But yeah, the verse has a better, is catchier on this.
Yeah, because you kind of get two, a lower one, and then another higher one doing the vocal part, but it's more rhythmic, kind of.
So yeah, they find that rhythm in there. They bring it up. Do, 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 do.
Yeah.
Do, do, do,
and it's okay, no, that makes sense that you'd kind of make it more melodic because you are not a voice, not saying words, and then but there's also two things going on, so they're kind of working together.
Yeah.
So I liked it.
I did like it. I think my issue coming in was that the group behind Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge just released a remix album of all of the and so and this is your difference between Recreation and just Illusion, essentially, is that these guys are 8-Bit Misfits are recreating just strictly using the tones of 8-bit machines.
Yes.
Whereas the artists they have doing this remix, who are doing kind of pixel style remixes, is that they're just using the idea of that, where it's you have a much broader set of tones to actually use when you're just kind of evoking pixel music rather than sticking strictly to the hardware.
Okay.
So having listened to those and then listened to this that day, I was like, this seems a bit like thin, a bit narrow in terms of what it's accomplishing, but then like understanding the philosophies behind them. I do think
that's kind of like the gimmick.
Yeah. So
But,
I think the gimmick works here. I think the harsher tones of like a Slipknot song, a metal track, maybe play to their advantage.
Yeah, there's lots of good like upper harmonics on this and stuff. So you get a lot of the. You said like thin conceptually.
Yeah,
But like
just in
the
terms
tones
of like
themselves
what we can do.
are not thin.
Yeah, it's all big, chunky 8-bit noises.
Yeah, these real like waveform sounds, and I think those are actually sound pretty good. But yeah, if you're not into that concept, then it's not going to convert you.
Yeah, if your idea of like hearing retro music is just kind of like I want it to feel like it, but with all of the modern trappings of like having more tones available.
Yeah.
Or do you want it to be like it?
Yeah,
and that's
having more than like 4 channels.
Yeah, exactly. So 8-Bit Misfits is doing like a strict recreation act. I do think it plays well here, but I did have to think about whether it was good or not.
Yeah.
But speaking of good or not, we're talking about another YouTuber act, Halocene in 2023.
I push my fingers into my eyes. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache. But it's made of all.
Halocene, who we talked about for Bad Blood.
Oh shit, and also Shallow.
Oh, and Shallow.
So these are the guys who do Nightcore covers of their own covers.
Oh, that's right. So it's under a different name, right?
Yeah, it's Nightcore by Halocene.
Nightcore by Halocene. Okay, that's why I didn't find the other one.
Yeah,
they did that.
I forgot they did Bad Blood. Now I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
For people who don't know what Nightcore is, because you didn't listen to our Shallow episode, Nightcore is a quote-unquote genre of music where essentially they just speed up a track a little bit to kind of like faster pace and chipmunkified a bit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like for TikTok, but I think that's a big thing there.
I think that was a big factor of
in a short video.
Yeah, and it's just like I just remember reading about it for Shallow, and like the culture around it is so strange because there are people who are like devout and crazy about it, and then people on the outside are like, "This is just plagiarism. Like you're not actually altering the song in any meaningful way.
Right? Just speeding it up.
You can achieve the same result on a record player."
It's true. Set it to 45.
Set it to 45. Boom! It's Nightcore now. But this is Halocene, so they are a pop rock duo, and sometimes Nightcore cover artists.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the kind of group who's like they got a pretty good production budget.
They do seem to have that production there, or like decent enough. Like I would kind of compare them to 666 Outlaws for a specific reason, which is the way they handle the choruses. The vocal thing.
Oh yeah, because they try to get both of them in there.
Yeah, exactly. They're both singing, and they kind of harmonize, particularly later on. So like the last chorus, I didn't get their names.
Their last chorus is their best part of this song.
Yeah, where she goes high and like does like the high kind of harmony there, and they're both doing together. That's a cool sound. The rest of it's not like they are very energetic and aggressive. They really have like the metal sound down, you know?
Yeah.
Other than that, like structurally, stylistically, pretty similar.
Yeah, they've got technique down. They're able to make a faithful reproduction of Slipknot that's a little more modern. But do they have heart though? That's the question, right? And I feel like I get that at the final chorus. I'm like, oh, this is what you guys are. Like this is who Halocene wants to be. And I feel like we could have bumped that up to maybe even 3 choruses. You know, let's get the energy big.
Or like, quicker. Because that does seem to be like the way they do the vocals there is kind of their thing. So they could have incorporated that a little more. But I do like it when it gets that for sure.
Yeah, I liked that. And you know, if my main complaint is I want more of a thing they did, that's not a damnation. That's just
it's not bad.
It's not bad. But they're good production value. They kind of trade off vocals a bit throughout the song. We open with her. He comes in for when that's typically the multi vocals come in. You know, after the soft section. In terms of like you said, unique structures. I mean, I can point to things like the bass has a really steely tone on it. You can tell it kind of sounds like fresh strings on there, which is a tone I like. There's
I mean, other than
cowbell.
that, the sounds are a bit unique, of course. Not everything's the same, but it's still fairly heavily distorted guitars. It's not like the Leo version where he's playing on a different guitar.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, there is a music video.
There is a music video, and kind of straightforward for the industry here. They're in like a concrete room. We open with these sort of like...
I almost wondered if it was like green screen.
Like it's not actually a concrete room, but just you could be right.
I think it might. I don't know. Like there's lights for sure. It could be.
The filtering on top of this makes it very difficult to tell. Actually,
yeah, that could be their way of smoothing things out. They've also got like a red light on one side and a blue light on the other side.
Right.
So they're illuminated in that way. So the aesthetic's pretty strong. It's very clean, but also they put a film grain over it.
Yeah, it's interesting because they open when they're doing their credits. They have this VHS scan line effect over it, like a warped VHS kind of thing. And then they switch to, like you said, old film grain, which I'm like, which are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, is it this misaligned chroma thing, or is it?
Yeah, or is it an old time?
Although they have both at part of it.
Yeah,
some of it. But I mean, fairly I think reasonably solid aesthetic. They have this red mic. I don't know if they have more than one because they only ever show one of them at a time.
I didn't even think of that. I was just like, oh, they both have a mic.
But yeah, it's that style of video where you never see the whole band. You only see close-ups on one member at a time. So clearly they only could film one of them at a time.
Right. That does lend credence to your it's not a real concrete wall theory.
Yeah. It does seem like, unless they have a dedicated concrete room.
Yeah.
But it's tough to tell. The way they've composited it works. So cool.
Yeah. I think the wildest thing though is that they got Alice Cooper to play drums in this.
Yeah, amazing. Wow. Yeah, you don't see his face though.
No.
I didn't know he's that good.
Who knew that he had more skills than being a singer? No, just kidding. It's just some dude with long hair, everyone. It's not Alice Cooper.
Yes, guy with long hair. Long dark hair. I'm trying to think if there's anything more notable about this one.
No, it's your pretty standard passionate singing into a mic.
Yeah.
Dude playing drums. We do see the guy play guitar. So yeah, we see guitar shots. It's a very standard this in a full production music video. This would be the B-roll while something else happens.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had a storyline.
Yeah, if you had something else. But, you're a YouTube artist, you got to crank something out. This is what you do. Overall, not bad. But we got to get into our final category. Somehow, a song we don't know anything about or running long on. We got 3 categories today. The worst version, the best version, and the spookiest version. It's the Halloween season, folks.
It is the Halloween season.
It's face-covering Tober. And we're in it. We're in the thick of it. Alex, what's the worst version of this?
What's the worst version? I think I gotta give it to Lounge Kittens because all the other ones. No, Lounge Kittens. You know what? I'd take that back. I didn't really like them, but I've decided instead to give it a 666 Outlaws because it's just a worse version of the original.
Yeah, I think you're right. As much as I'm mad at the Lounge Kittens. And I want them to do better, but they're retired, so they never will.
Yeah.
Yeah, 666 Outlaws. And how mad can I be at some guys who probably played together all of one time and never played together again?
Yeah, exactly. They had one take for this, and they're like, can we do another? And they're like, there's no budget, go home.
Go home, you're done for the day.
Okay.
Fine, all right.
Yeah, Lounge Kittens was fine. I didn't really like it, but definitely 666 Outlaws was just weak all around.
Just weak all. Yeah, Lounge Kittens theoretically has something to offer.
Yeah.
It is at least sonically different. But 666 Outlaws, they got harmonies. Yeah, they're technically skilled. I just think they need to put a little more time and effort into things. But yeah, 666 Outlaws is just fucking sludge. It's just garbage. And that's the worst version. Alex, what is the best version?
What is my favorite version of this? There's some decent ones, but I really liked what Leo did with it.
Yeah.
I think I like the Leo version the most. I was a bit surprised to see acoustic cover after, I was like, wait a minute, a metal song? Leo? He already... Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're like, what do you mean Leo's covering metal? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
A fun goof. I know he did it 7 years ago, so it's like not really news anymore, but it's still amusing.
Hey, it's pretty good. Yeah, and like I found like especially that slide whistle somehow. After listening to all these songs, that was like the musical hook that stuck in my ears all week. So like it's got some staying power. Yeah, that doo-doo. I was like, it's a unique noise. What other songs do you hear a slide whistle in? And as much as it is kind of played cheekily, it's also played like expertly. Like it's done exactly where it needs to be and nowhere else. So it's a great effort from Leo. Greatest version. Best version this week. Alex, what's the spookiest version though?
The spookiest version. I don't know. Does anyone do like a really spooky? Like is it really I mean the original probably, but like
yeah, the original's probably the spookiest.
But which one is gonna be spooky? The Lounge Kittens version, because it'll sneak into a high society event and scare everyone by being a metal song secretly, but they won't actually know.
That's right. It's gonna scare the others. There's gonna be a lot of monocles popping into beverages.
Yeah. Oh goodness me. Yeah. That's the one.
That's a solid pick. I'm gonna go for a kind of you die in the game, you die for real approach. 8-bit Misfits.
Oh, okay.
You hear that on, you're like, this is not from any video game, and then
am I gonna die for real?
Am I gonna fucking die for real? Like this is the soundtrack to hell. Like I don't fucking know, man. We're going somewhere negative, and that's why it's gonna be the spookiest version. I'm gonna hack. I guess you could just make like a patch for just about any game that plays this version of Duality in it.
You probably could.
And then you'd have to kill the person as they play it to really fulfill the spookiness. Or I guess, to spook, you don't have to murder. You just have to scare. You just maybe
you just gotta
shoot
spook.
Shoot him with a Nerf gun or something. Spook him. But maybe you've all been spooked by our final verdicts, but don't let that discourage you from hitting us with yours. Talk to us on the app formerly known as Twitter. #CoverMePod, @SnakeyMe, @SomeAlexWiseGuy. Send us your comments, questions, concerns, suggestions for future episodes. You can also email those to us at covermepod@gmail.com. Talk to us there. Be sure to rate and review us. We're on all the apps. We're on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Podurama, Pocket Cast, Podbean. Podcasts. We're doing them, man. We're on there. Tell your friends, family, neighbors, loved ones. Get the word out. What you can really do, it's coming close to Halloween time. You got to get a costume together. You can be, I don't know, it's going to be a little tricky to pull off, but you can be the album cover with your friend for this podcast. You can be us. So the best part about this is half of your face still gets to be normal. So, because there's only half of each of our face on there. So you got half of Alex's face, half of my face. Is it half a face? Am I making that up? It's maybe the full face. You know what? It is the full face. Okay, so you do have to do the full face. That's fine. But then you guys can wear a shirt each that has the Cover Me logo on it, but only on the one half, so that when you stand together, it makes Cover Me.
Yeah,
that's where the half and half comes in. And then, guess what's on the back of these shirts, you guys?
What's on the back?
A fucking QR code.
Oh, damn.
People say, what are you guys? You're like, we're Cover Me. And they're like, what's that? And then you turn around. So you do have to do it so that when you turn around, so the opposite ends of the shirt will kind of connect, right? And then the QR code appears between you two. So one side, you flip, it says Cover Me between you. You flip to the other side, it's a QR code. It's a lot of effort. It's not that much effort.
Gotta be a QR code, man.
There's no other way to get people to follow us. It has to be a QR code. It has to
be a QR code.
What else is there? What, are you going to have a URL written down there? They're not going to plug that in on their phone. Nobody's going to give you their phone. You have a weird costume, so it has to be a QR code. You got to do it.
Yeah, who's got time otherwise?
Who's got time? We live in a busy, busy world, okay? So that's it. That's your task this week. To get some Cover Me costumes going. That's it. That does it for today's episode of Cover Me. And as we always say on Cover Me, I push Cover Me into my ears. It's the only thing that slowly stops the ache.